Alien mother knocked on every human door for 3 years, looking for the one. Sci-Fi, HFY story. The alien mother had learned how to knock like a human. 3 slow taps. A pause. 2 more taps. Not too strong, not too weak. She had practiced it for years, watching from a distance, copying the rhythm that made humans open their doors instead of hiding behind them. Her name was Lyra. She stood in front of another human home, her thin body wrapped in a faded cloak that once carried bright colors. Rain slid down the metal walls of the settlement, dripping onto the dusty ground. The world smelled of rust, oil, and wet soil. Human worlds always smelled like work. Lyra lifted her hand and knocked. No answer. She waited anyway. Waiting was something she had become very good at. 3 years earlier, she had arrived on this planet with nothing but a broken translator, a small round device hidden under her cloak, and a single promise burning in her mind. She would not stop, not until she found the one she was looking for. The door did not open. Behind her, a human passed by and muttered something under his breath. Lyra did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. Fear mixed with anger. She had heard it many times before. She turned and walked away before the human could shout. This was not the first door. It was not the 100th. It was not even the 1,000th. Lyra had knocked on doors in cities built of glass towers and in towns made from old ship parts. She had knocked during burning summers and freezing winters. She had knocked on rich doors guarded by machines and on poor doors held together by hope and scrap metal. Always the same question. Always the same shaking voice. Have you seen him? Sometimes humans laughed. Sometimes they shouted. Sometimes they threatened her with weapons. A few let her speak before saying no. None said yes. At night, Lyra slept wherever she could, under bridges, in broken cargo bays, once in the corner of a medical station until security found her. She did not dream anymore. Dreams hurt too much. She touched the device under her cloak as she walked. It was smooth and warm, like a quiet heartbeat against her skin. A soft light blinked inside it, slow and steady, still counting. She had hoped it would never start counting again. The first year, humans thought she was just another refugee. There were many after the border wars, broken species drifting from lost systems. Humans pretended to be kind, but kindness had limits. By the second year, rumors followed her. They said she brought sickness. They said machines failed when she was near. They said she was looking for a weapon. Children pointed at her from behind their parents. By the third year, doors stopped opening at all. Still, she knocked, because once long ago, a human door had opened. Lyra remembered that day clearly. Her world had been burning. The sky had been full of falling fire, and the ground had screamed as cities collapsed. She had run with her infant son pressed to her chest, his small body wrapped in protective cloth. Sirens from alien ships mixed with human warning signals as fleets clashed above the planet. She had not known humans then. She only knew that their evacuation ships were the only ones still landing. A human soldier had seen her stumble. He had hesitated. Then he opened the ship door. That door had saved her life, and later it had taken her child. The memory tightened around her chest like a closed hand. She reached the edge of the settlement and stopped near an abandoned storage building. The rain had slowed. Lyra leaned against the cold wall and slid down until she was sitting. Her body was tired, not just from walking, from hope. She pulled the device out slightly, just enough to see the light. It blinked faster now, not much, but faster than before. She knew what that meant. Time was moving again. For many months after losing her child, Lyra had believed he was dead. That belief had almost killed her. Only when a fragment of old human data reached a refugee network did she learn the truth. An unknown infant, recovered alive, species listed as human. Adoption record sealed. That was all. Humans had saved him. Humans had hidden him. Only humans could have done both. The device she carried was older than human space travel. It was not a weapon. It was not a tracker. It was a promise written into her bloodline. When activated, it would search for a genetic echo, not a face, not a name, a truth deeper than appearance, but it needed proximity. That was why she knocked. Lyra stood up slowly. She could not rest. Rest meant giving up. She adjusted her cloak and returned to the street. Another row of homes waited, another set of doors. She stopped at one that was smaller than the others. The paint was peeling. A soft yellow light glowed from inside. There was sound too, human voices, calm, ordinary. Her hand trembled. She knocked. Footsteps approached. Her heart raced. The door opened just a little. A human woman looked out, eyes wide, fear rising instantly. "Yes?" the woman asked. Lyra swallowed and spoke slowly, carefully shaping the words she had practiced. "I am looking for someone," she said. The woman's grip tightened on the door. "A child," Lyra added. The woman shook her head before Lyra could say more. "No, please leave," she said and closed the door. Lyra stood there for a moment, staring at the empty space. Then she nodded to herself and stepped away. One more no, the device pulsed. Lyra gasped softly and clutched it against her chest. This was new. It had not pulsed like that before. The light inside flared, then dimmed. Her breath caught. Something had changed. She turned slowly, scanning the street. Humans walked past unaware. A cargo vehicle hummed overhead. Nothing looked different, but she felt it. The echo, faint, very faint, like a whisper carried through stone. Lyra's eyes filled with tears she did not wipe away. For the first time in 3 years, the question in her voice was no longer empty. He was here, somewhere on this world, behind one of these doors, and she would knock on every single one if she had to, even if her body failed, even if the device finished counting, even if humans told stories about her for years after she was gone. The alien mother straightened her shoulders and walked forward. The light inside the device blinked again, this time faster. The signal did not stop after that night. Lyra felt it with every step she took through the settlement. The device beneath her cloak no longer slept. It pulsed like a living thing, slow when she stood still, faster when she moved in certain directions. It was guiding her, but not clearly. The echo was weak, buried under years of distance and human noise. She followed it anyway. Morning came with gray light and cold air. Humans began their day early. Machines roared to life. Doors opened and closed without fear now, because Lyra looked less like a mystery in daylight and more like a tired stranger. She moved street by street, stopping often, pretending to rest while she listened to the quiet language of the device. It pulled her toward the inner districts, toward older neighborhoods, toward places where records were lost and people kept secrets. Lyra remembered the moment she had learned her child was alive. It had been in a hidden shelter far from human worlds. Refugees gathered their traded stories instead of goods. A damaged human terminal flickered in the corner, ignored by most. Lyra had sat in front of it for hours, scanning broken files with shaking hands. That was where she found it. A short entry. An infant recovered during evacuation. Species uncertain. Listed as human to prevent panic. Transferred to civil care. Her body had gone cold as she read it. Humans had done what they always did. They had protected their own, even when they did not know what that meant. She did not blame them, she blamed time. Now time pressed against her again. The device warmed suddenly. Lyra stopped walking. A sharp pain cut through her chest, stealing her breath. She leaned against a wall and closed her eyes, too close. She had moved too fast. The device was not meant to stay active for long periods. It drew energy from her body, from her life. She forced herself to breathe slowly until the pain faded. When she opened her eyes, a human child was staring at her. The boy could not have been older than 10. His clothes were dirty, his face curious rather than afraid. "Are you sick?" he asked. Lyra studied him carefully. The device remained calm, no echo. "I am tired," she said. The boy nodded as if that made perfect sense. "My mom says tired people need soup," he said, then ran off before Lyra could respond. She watched him go, her chest aching for reasons beyond pain. She had imagined her own child growing up many times. She wondered if he laughed, if he liked soup, if he ever felt like something was missing. The thought nearly broke her. Lyra moved again as the day passed. The signal grew stronger near an old transit hub that no longer worked. Humans avoided it. Too many shadows, too much history. She crossed into the area just as the sun dipped low. That was when she noticed she was being followed. Footsteps slowed when she slowed, stopped when she stopped. Lyra turned suddenly. 3 humans stood behind her, not workers, not families. Their posture was wrong, hunters. "Hey," one of them said, "you've been knocking on doors." Lyra said nothing. "That's making people nervous," another added. The device pulsed hard, danger. Lyra stepped back slowly. "I am leaving," she said. The first man laughed. "You aliens always say that." She turned and ran. Her body protested instantly. Pain flared through her legs and chest. The device grew hot, angry at the sudden movement. She ran anyway. The old transit hub loomed ahead, dark and broken. Lyra slipped inside as voices shouted behind her. She hid between fallen panels and held her breath. The men did not follow far. Humans feared dark places as much as they hunted them. When the voices faded, Lyra collapsed to the ground. The device flickered wildly. She clutched it, whispering words from her own language, a prayer older than stars. "Not yet," she begged. "Please." The light steadied. Barely. Lyra lay there until night fully claimed the sky. She knew something else now. Humans were watching her. That meant someone else might be too. The ones who destroyed her world did not forget easily. She rose slowly and left the hub through a side exit. The signal guided her again, clearer now. It pulled her toward a residential zone beyond the factories, toward quiet streets, toward homes where lights stayed on late. She stopped near a small building with a narrow front door. The device pulsed once, strong enough to make her gasp. Very close. Her hands shook. She did not knock. Not yet. She sat across the street, watching. Humans came and went. A tall man entered carrying tools. Later, a younger figure followed, head down, moving with tired steps. Lyra felt the echo flare briefly when the second figure passed through the door. Her vision blurred. This was not proof, but it was hope sharp enough to cut. She waited until the lights inside dimmed. Then she crossed the street and raised her hand. Her knock echoed softly in the night. No answer. She knocked again. Footsteps approached. The door opened just enough for a human man to look out. His eyes were guarded but not cruel. "Yes?" he asked. Lyra searched his face, then glanced past him into the dark home beyond. The device pulsed so hard she nearly cried out. "I am sorry," she said. "I am looking for someone." The man frowned. "It's late." "I know," Lyra said. "I have been late for a long time." Something in her voice made him hesitate. "Who are you looking for?" he asked. Lyra opened her mouth. The device flared bright white. Inside the house something fell, a sharp sound, then silence. The man turned sharply. "Noah," he called. Lyra's heart stopped. The echo screamed. She staggered forward as the man rushed back inside. The door swung wide and Lyra followed without thinking. A young human lay on the floor, unmoving. The device burned against her chest. After 3 years of knocking, the answer had not come with words. It had come with collapse. The young human did not move. The man knelt beside him, shouting his name again and again. His voice cracked with fear as he shook the boy's shoulders. Lyra stood frozen near the doorway, her heart pounding so loudly she could barely hear anything else. The device against her chest burned like fire. This was not how it was supposed to happen. She stepped forward slowly. The man looked up, anger flashing across his face. "What did you do?" he demanded. Lyra raised her empty hands. "Nothing," she said. "I swear." The boy's breathing was shallow. His skin had gone pale, a faint shimmer moving beneath it like light trapped under water. The device pulsed again. Lyra knelt beside them despite the man's glare. She did not touch the boy. She did not need to. "He can hear me," she said softly. The man stared at her like she had lost her mind. "You need to leave," he said. "Now." "If I leave," Lyra replied, "he will die." The words tasted like iron in her mouth. The man hesitated. Humans always did when faced with impossible choices. Lyra recognized the look. She had seen it on the face of the soldier who once opened a door for her. "Who are you?" the man asked. "I am his mother," Lyra said. The room went silent. The man laughed once, sharp and broken. "That's not funny." "I am not human," Lyra said, "but he is not only human either." The device flared bright, filling the room with soft white light. Symbols appeared across its surface, ancient patterns responding to proximity they had waited years to feel. The boy gasped. His back arched and his eyes flew open. The man cried out and grabbed him, but Lyra shook her head. "Do not stop it," she said. "Please." The boy's breathing deepened. The shimmer beneath his skin faded slowly, leaving him sweating but alive. His eyes focused, confused, then afraid. "Dad," he whispered. The man pulled him into his arms, holding him tightly. Relief crashed through the room like a wave. Lyra collapsed back against the wall, her strength draining away. The device dimmed, its light settling into a slow, steady glow. The man looked at her again. This time there was no anger, only questions. "You better start explaining," he said. Lyra nodded weakly. They sat at the small table while the boy rested on the couch, watching them with wide eyes. The man kept himself between Lyra and the child, not threatening but careful. "My name is Evan," he said. "He's my son." Lyra bowed her head slightly. "I know." Evan's jaw tightened. "Then you know he's human." "Yes," Lyra said, "because you made him human." She told them everything. She spoke of fire falling from the sky, of running with a child pressed to her chest, of a human ship and a door that opened, of chaos, smoke, and separation. She spoke of years spent knocking, of hunger, of fear, of a device that would only awaken when it found what it was made for. The boy listened without speaking. Evan listened with his hands clenched on the table. When she finished, silence filled the room again. "That's impossible," Evan said quietly. Lyra nodded. "Humans say that often." The boy shifted on the couch. "If you're my mother," he said slowly, "why did I grow up here?" Lyra looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. He was taller than she imagined. His eyes were human. His face carried Evan's expressions from years of shared life. "Because humans saved you," she said, "and because you needed them." Evan stood suddenly and walked to the window. Outside, the street was quiet, but distant lights moved in patterns that did not belong to normal traffic. Lyra felt it before she saw it. Fear. "They found us," she whispered. Evan turned sharply. "Who?" "The ones who destroyed my world," Lyra said. "They follow echoes too." As if in answer, the device pulsed hard enough to knock the breath from her lungs. A low hum filled the air, vibrating through the walls. The boy sat up. "What's happening?" "The part of you that slept," Lyra said, "is waking up." Outside, a shadow passed over the house, blocking the stars. Evan swore under his breath. "That's not a ship I've ever seen." Lyra stood, steadying herself against the table. "They will take him," she said, "or kill him." Evan turned to her, eyes burning. "Not happening." The boy looked between them, fear mixing with something else, curiosity, strength. "I don't want to go," he said. "I don't even know them." Lyra felt tears rise again. "That is why I knocked," she said, "not to take you, to ask." A deep rumble shook the ground. Distant alarms began to sound across the settlement. Evan grabbed his jacket and keys. "There's a shelter under the old grid station," he said. "Military-grade doors." "It will not hold," Lyra replied. "Then we make time," Evan said. They moved together without further words. As they stepped outside, the sky split open with light. Shapes descended, silent and wrong, cutting through the air like knives. The boy stopped walking. Lyra felt the device surge. "No," she said, "not yet." But the boy raised his head, eyes glowing faintly. Something inside him had heard the call, and it was answering. The air outside felt heavy, like the world itself was holding its breath. The shapes in the sky moved without sound, dark against the stars. Lights flickered along their edges, cold and sharp. They were not human ships. They did not land with noise or warning. They simply arrived as if they had always been there and humans were only now allowed to notice. Evan pulled the boy close to him. "Inside," he said. Lyra shook her head. "They already know where he is." The device against her chest vibrated so hard it hurt. Lines of light spread across its surface, forming patterns she had not seen since her world was still alive. "This place is not safe," she said, "but running will only make it worse." The boy stood very still. His eyes glowed faintly now, not bright enough to shine, but enough to be seen in the dark. "I feel them," he said, "like pressure in my head." Lyra met his gaze. "That is because they made you to be found." Evan turned to her sharply. "What does that mean?" She took a slow breath. There was no more time for soft truths. "My people knew we would lose," Lyra said. "We were outnumbered, outmatched, so we did the only thing we could." She touched the device. "We hid what mattered." The ground trembled. Far away, a building collapsed. Human alarms wailed, confused and late. "They are not here for revenge," Lyra continued. "They are here because something inside your son scares them." The boy swallowed. "Am I a weapon?" Lyra's voice broke. "You were never meant to be." She explained how her people learned to weave survival into flesh, how they shaped children who could adapt, learn, and connect. Not soldiers, but bridges. The enemy had feared that kind of future. Unity frightened them more than any army. "You were designed to live among others," she said, "to grow as they grow, to choose who you become." A beam of light cut down from the sky, striking the street 2 blocks away. The sound came a second later, deep and violent. Evan grabbed a metal rod from the ground. It was useless, but his grip was steady. "They're not taking him," he said. Lyra nodded. "That is why I came to humans." Figures emerged from the beam of light, tall, thin, moving with calm purpose. Their eyes reflected the glow of the fires they started. The device screamed. Lyra cried out and fell to one knee. The light from the device poured out, wrapping around her and the boy like a shield. "What's happening to her?" Evan shouted. "The device is changing modes," Lyra gasped. "It was never meant to protect me." The boy stepped forward without thinking. "Then use me." "No," Lyra said sharply, "you are not a tool." But the device responded to him anyway. The light shifted, it softened. The figures stopped advancing. The boy raised his hands, shaking. The air around him bent slightly like heat above stone. "I don't want to fight," he said. Lyra felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. The enemy figures reacted at last. One raised an arm. The beam it fired shattered against the light around the boy, scattering harmlessly into sparks. Evan stared in disbelief. "He's protecting us." "Yes," Lyra said. "He always was." But the device pulsed faster, brighter. Warnings flooded Lyra's mind in a language older than speech. This protection would cost her everything. She looked at Evan. "When this ends," she said, "he will need you more than ever." Evan met her eyes. "He's my son." Lyra smiled weakly. "Then humanity has already won." The light expanded, pushing the enemy back step by step. The sky trembled as more ships shifted position, uncertain. Lyra felt her strength slipping away. The device was reaching its final state. The boy turned to her, panic on his face. "What are you doing?" "Finishing the knocking," she whispered. The light flared brighter than the sun, and Lyra closed her eyes, trusting humans to do what they always did when the universe tested them. The light faded slowly, like the world exhaling after holding its breath for too long. When Evan opened his eyes, the street was gone. He lay on cold metal under white lights. The air smelled clean, sharp, and human. Machines hummed softly around him. He pushed himself up, heart racing. "Hey," a voice said. "Easy." A human medic stepped into view, hands raised. "You're safe." Evan looked around wildly. "My son," he said. "Where is he?" "He's here," another voice answered. The boy sat on a nearby bed wrapped in a thermal blanket. His eyes looked normal again, human, tired, alive. Evan crossed the room in 3 steps and pulled him into a tight embrace. The boy held on just as hard. "She's gone," the boy said quietly. Evan felt his chest tighten. He turned slowly. Lyra lay on another bed, unmoving. Her skin had lost its color. The device that once pulsed with light lay dark and cracked at her side, like a heart that had beaten its last. Evan took a step forward, then stopped. A human officer stood near the bed, her expression unreadable. "We pulled her from the site with the others," she said. "Whatever that device did, it pushed the enemy fleet out of orbit, completely." "Pushed them out?" Evan asked. "They ran," the officer said. "We've never seen anything like it." Around them, the shelter buzzed with quiet chaos. Injured people were treated. Families clung to each other. Screens showed human ships rising into the sky, forming defensive lines without orders. Humans adapting, humans choosing. The boy stepped closer to Lyra's bed. His hands trembled. "She said she was my mother," he whispered. Evan knelt beside him. "She is," he said gently, "and she trusted us." The boy nodded, tears slipping down his face. A soft sound broke the moment. A beep. Evan froze. The medic frowned and leaned over Lyra. "That's not possible," he muttered. The cracked device flickered, once, twice. A weak light bloomed beneath Lyra's skin. The boy gasped. "She's still here." The medic shouted for help. Machines were rushed in. Human hands worked fast, not waiting for permission. "Her biology is alien," someone said. "Then adapt," another replied. Evan watched in stunned silence as humans did what they always did best. They learned in real time. They rewrote procedures. They refused to accept limits just because the universe said so. Hours passed. Finally, the medic stepped back. "She's stable," he said, disbelief thick in his voice. "I don't know how, but she's alive." The boy laughed through tears. Evan felt something inside him break open. Human ships filled the sky by dawn, not just military, cargo vessels, mining ships, private transports. Anyone who could fly had come. The enemy fleet stayed far beyond the system's edge. They did not return. News spread faster than fear ever had. An alien mother, a human child. A city that refused to fall. Humans listened this time. Lyra woke slowly. Her first breath hurt. Her second felt stronger. She opened her eyes to a ceiling she did not recognize. The boy sat beside her bed. She stared at him, afraid to move. "You're still knocking," he said softly, her eyes filled with tears. "You stayed," she whispered. "So did you," he said. Evan stood behind him. "You're not going anywhere," he added. "Either of you." Lyra closed her eyes, overwhelmed. Days passed. Humans asked questions. Scientists listened instead of deciding. Leaders argued, then agreed on one thing. The child would choose. He chose to stay. He chose to learn. He chose to stand with humanity. Lyra watched humans rebuild streets and homes side by side with aliens who no longer hid. She saw children play without fear. She saw doors left open. For the first time in years, she did not knock. One evening, as the sun set over the repaired settlement, Lyra stood with Evan and the boy. "My people believed survival meant sacrifice," she said quietly. "Humans believe it means standing together." Evan smiled. "We're stubborn like that." Far beyond the stars, the enemy watched and waited. They would remember this world. They would remember what happened when an alien mother knocked on human doors, and they would fear the answer. Because humanity did not ask who belonged. Humanity chose to protect anyone who asked.